excuse me, I'm just going to come up here. I have to apologise, I'm limping a bit, but I've got terrible bruising on the inside of my thigh. So anyway. When John asked me if I would share the duty of being best man together with Jack, I was delighted to accept. It's been a really great honour. I do have a bit of previous when it comes to weddings. In the past I've been an usher, I've been a groom, and I've even acted as father of the bride, as George and Yvonne did today. Fortunately, it wasn't all at the same wedding. However, I've never been a best man before, and over the next 10 minutes you're going to find out why. In preparing my speech, I looked on the internet as well, and it said the length of the best man's speech should be about the time it takes the groom to make love. So you've been a wonderful audience. Now I'm sure most of you felt the same way it's the same way as I did when I started to read the wedding invitation. When we went through I saw the wedding list. I tell you, I came out in a cold sweat as I saw the words Harrods, Prestige and Fine Art. I have to be honest, as a Yorkshireman dressed as a Scotsman, that until I realised that John and Michaela were winding us all up, I seriously thought about pulling a sickie tonight, I can tell you. Now when John went through the order of events for today, one thing that really got my attention was that he told me that 10 minutes before the ceremony we would get piped in the castle. I thought this was a euphemism for something else. Now, I'm not au fait with traditional Scottish weddings, but I thought no wonder English people go to Gretna to get married if this happens all the time in Scotland. Needless to say, being piped in the castle wasn't what I'd hoped, but there you go. Now, when we picked up our outfits for today, we went to Stockport and John looked really smart, but I felt there was just something missing from his outfit. Now, the more cruel amongst you would think hair, which is probably right. But I couldn't possibly say something like that because I'm too nice. But I wondered if traditional Scottish headwear might complete his look. So I just want John to help me out here because I looked high and low for this. No expense spent, as you can see. Yes, I looked high and low for this in the attic. And I found this and I just wondered if John would just try it. So, shall we put it on for you, mate?
Yeah, do it.
There we go. It looks like some sort of a shortbread tin, doesn't it? That's it. You can have the bag as well, mate. It's all in. It's a good one, that one as well. As John mentioned before, he's very keen on keeping fit. And he did mention that, in fact, we did meet at the gym all those years ago. On one time when we were one of our extended chats, he was very, very kind to invite me to go mountain biking with him. And in many ways, that was a catalyst of a truly great friendship, as far as I'm concerned. Now, in the early days, I was pretty raw at mountain biking, and because I'd never done it before.
What do you mean, early days?
In the early, when we first started going out, oh yeah, no, in the early days of our mountain biking, not in the early days of our. But John was quite experienced at mountain biking because for years beforehand he'd been going out sort of on his own. And what he was doing was he'd go out by himself, and I thought it was a little bit sad this, but he used to go out by himself in all weathers. You know, he'd unload his bike from his car in the middle of nowhere, explore the Cambrian hills, not knowing where he's going to, and when he's going to get back, for all loads and loads of hours, all by himself. And I wondered why he did this, because to me it just seemed quite a lonely thing to do, especially in such crappy conditions. And then I met his wife and kids and understood why. Shall I carry on? No big rolls left, are there? No, you can't. Right, okay. Through John, I was hooked on mountain biking, and we'd go out in all weathers, as John mentioned, come back freezing cold, numb feet and hands, soaking wet, and splattered with whatever the North Wales hills threw at us. And I mean whatever it threw at us. Now, if North Wales is synonymous with one thing, it is sheep, because their natural consequences are everywhere that you go. So let me tell you, from experience, it's a good idea when you're behind John, hurtling down a hill at the rate of knots, 6 inches away from his rear wheel, flicking up a hail of sheep dropping. You need to keep your mouth shut. Because if you don't, you'll never forget the unique taste of the hills. Oh, I mean, where that's come from? Oh, God. All right. Now, apart from the risk of dying from hypothermia, as John mentioned before, and he's been looking at my speech, I'm sure he has, mountain biking can be a hazardous activity. Accidents do happen, and although they don't happen very often, when they do, they are, you know, quite spectacular, aren't they? There's no question about that. And John, being the more daring of all of us, has his fair share of falls. I remember one instance when John was flying down a hill at Llandegla, misjudged a jump, and was catapulted straight over his handlebars, all right, towards a large tree. Now, fortunately, the impact of John's fall was broken by him landing on his head, which was a good thing. And on reaching him, John was sat there groaning on the floor, and he had literally those birds tweeting round his head, going in circles. Now, I did what any good friend would do under the circumstances, and I checked there was no damage to his bike. And I then checked on the tree to make sure that was okay. And then, of course, I checked over John's injuries, which included a nasty bang on his head, despite him wearing his helmet. He'd hurt his shoulder, and he had serious difficulty breathing. Now, actually, I had serious difficulty breathing as well because I was laughing so much. In fact, I laughed so much I thought my padded shorts would never dry. Now, I don't know if you're aware of this, but before John met Michaela, he used the services of an internet dating site. Now, when John has a project to complete, he is thorough, to say the least. You've all seen evidence of that today. It's been a fantastic day, but organised an absolute tea. To say when he was searching the internet dating sites, to say he cast his net far and wide is the understatement of the year. John worked out how far he could travel from home in an evening to meet a woman, have a drink or a bite to eat, and then get back to the house again in that one evening. And that was his catchment area. On one stage, he even bought a faster car so he could be moving. In fact, I thought it was a good job he didn't have a private plane, otherwise no one in Western Europe would have been out of his reaches, I can tell you. At one time, he had so many women on the go, and I think 7 was the record, if I'm not mistaken. The European Union nearly had to step in to limit this quota like they do with fishing fleets, you know, with the fish that they're picking up. However, his plan obviously paid off because he landed a cracker in Michaela. Yay. So by now you've probably realised I haven't got any sordid revelations or stories that would embarrass John in front of you all. Well, none that are covered by the super injunction that John's lawyers took out on me this morning. I do have the edited version in my breast pocket, and anybody who wishes to find out the nitty-gritty details, I'll be thirsty at the bar a little bit later on. Actually, it's a load of rubbish. The reason is I haven't got any really embarrassing stories is because for the 17 years I've known John, I can't really think of any. And I suppose it will come as no surprise to those people who know him well. See, where John is most at home is at home with those who are closest to him. He's not a person to put a high priority on having a large social network, and he's certainly no drinker. In fact, last week we went out for a pint, and I have to say, he puts it away about as fast as a sparrow with a poorly beak. John's favourite holiday destination is the States. And because he enjoys, I think the reason why he enjoys that, because he loves the idea of living that American way of family life for 2 or 3 weeks. And the whole family are going to be with him in December for a significant birthday. And again, I'm sure he wouldn't want to celebrate his birthday in any other way other than with his family around him. He also confided in me a couple of days ago that it was important for him and Michaela that the kids played a central part of today. That is John's style. Ever since I've known John, and this is what makes him such a special guy, is his total focus and dedication towards his family. He is the family man. So Michaela, Tony and Brittany, you're now formally part of that family, and to my mind, you couldn't possibly be in better hands. So that's me finished. I'd like to thank you. And now, speaking of being in good hands, I would like to hand you over to Jack, who's going to propose a toast.
Ladies and gentlemen, will you please stand to raise a toast? To the bride and groom. Bride and groom.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, could I please have a round of applause for all the speeches tonight? And when you're ready, I'd like to make a move to the drawing room for tea and coffee.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.